Right, welcome to the video. So that was just a quick demo of the sounds that you can get from the Boss SY-200. So in this video, I just want to share to you guys how I use the pedal. So if you're not familiar with the Boss SY-200, it's a synthesizer pedal. So it converts your guitar sound directly into a synth sound without any special pickups or special cables. So I've used synths before, and the way I would do it with my recordings and the covers that I do, I would manually click on the computer the MIDI notes, and I'll just load the virtual instrument plug-in because I didn't know how to play the keyboard and I didn't have like a MIDI keyboard controller. So it was time consuming, but I got it done. But with this pedal, I don't have to do that anymore. I can just play the same instrument that I've always played, the guitar, and it just directly converts it into a synth sound. So there are two main concerns that I had before I got this pedal. The first one was how to connect it in a pedal board. Where does it sit in the chain? And the second one is how to actually use it, because there's more than 100 sounds that you can get from this pedal, and there's only two foot switches. One to turn on and off, and the other one is a memory switch that you can select different patches. So even if you can change the functions of those 2-foot switches, it's still not enough. Let's first talk about how to connect the pedal. So I'm gonna have to use the entire pedal board here to do a proper demo. So just a quick rundown from the guitar. It goes into the input of the MS3, and the MS3 is a loop switcher. It has 3 loops. So the first loop is the Wampler Ego 76 compressor. The second loop is the Boss OD200, which is my overdrive and distortion. And the third loop is the Boss IR200, which is the amp and cabinet simulation. And that is actually where I connected the SY-200. The SY-200 is in the effects loop of the IR200, and I find that that's the best way to connect the pedal in the effects loop of like an amp simulation, or if you don't have an amp simulation, maybe the effects loop of your amp. I've tried connecting it early in the chain because a lot of people say that you need to put a synth pedal early in the chain so that it can receive the purest guitar signal and convert it to synth. But I find that if it's followed by a distortion pedal, the synth will be distorted, and I didn't like that. So I just found that the best way is to connect it in the effects chain. And the output of the IR200 will go to the RC500, and it will go to the speakers. And the bridge 6 here is just an additional MIDI controller to control everything. So that is how I connect the pedal. The second concern was how to actually use it. So with only 2-foot switches and more than 100 sounds, 2-foot switches is just not enough. So let's go into these 2 MIDI controllers here, which I control the pedal board. So in the Boss MS3, Bank 1 patch number 4, I've assigned to be my SY-200 patch. And I go to manual mode to have these 4-foot switches function as a toggle on and off to different effects internally of the MS3 to enhance the synth sound. But in the bridge 6 here, let's start with how I recall the patches. So in the bridge 6, there's a scrolling function wherein you can scroll through different values of a specific parameter of any pedal that you're controlling. And you can also select the minimum and maximum value as well as the increments and the direction to which it scrolls to. So what I have here is the foot switch number 4 and foot switch number 6 I've assigned to scroll through the patch changes. So if I press foot switch number 6 here, you can see that the SY-200 is increasing in the patch changes. And I've set the maximum value to 12 so that when it reaches to 12, it will just go back to 1 and cycle back through. And foot switch number 4 here will decrease the patch changes. So the reason why there's only 12 that I've cycled through, even though there's 128 slots that you can save your sounds, scrolling to 128 is just too much and it's not practical. So what I did here is I chose my top 12 sounds that I mainly use, and I just cycle through those sounds. So just a quick demo of the top 12 sounds that I've chosen. Patch number 1 here is a cello. Patch number 2 is a pad. Patch number 3 is strings. Patch number 4 is bells. Five is organ. Bass, patch number 6. 7 is voice. There's another ambient sound there. This one is cool one. Patch number 8 is a sweep. So yeah, that's a very cool sound for like similar to cinematic stuff. Patch number 9 is a choir. Patch number 10 is a variation of a lead synth. Patch number 11 is the sequence that I used in the demo. And patch number 12 is arpeggio. So those are my top 12 sounds that I've chosen to cycle through the patch changes. So going back to the cello sound, I really like to... I wanted to do a simulation of a much closer sound to a cello or a real violin or cello sound. So what I did here in the MS3, in the third foot switch, I've assigned to turn on the slow gear and tera echo effect. So the slow gear will give me that smooth attack, similar to a volume swell. And the tera echo will give me that ambient delay sound trail at the end. So check this out. So turning on the slow gear and the tera echo. And with this sound, I can play stuff like and so very beautiful sound there. Another thing that I like to do with the cello sound is to do pitch shifts. So with the SY-200, there's a pitch shift function, and in the bridge 6 here, that's what I control in the foot switch number 2 and number 3. So number 2 here will pitch shift to a higher octave. And number 3 will pitch shift to a lower octave. Another effect that the SY-200 can control is a sound hold. So I think that's best demonstrated with an ambient sound. So if I press foot switch number 1, it will just sustain that sound until I press it again to turn it off. So if I turn on the ambient delay there, we'll have a smoother decay. So another thing that I like to do is to blend the direct guitar sound. So that is what the foot switch number 5 will do. It will control the direct level. If you see in the SY-200, there's a direct level knob which blends the direct guitar sound. And if you turn it up, you can hear the synth and direct level sound together. So right now it's just strings. If I press foot switch number 5, you can hear the direct guitar sound, the clean guitar, as well as the strings. Another thing that I'd like to do, since we're talking about blending the direct guitar sound, in foot switch number 2 here in the MS3, it will turn on the OD200. So if I wanted an overdriven sound blended with a synth sound, then I'll just press that. Right. So that is what this does. And foot switch number 1 on the MS3 will turn on the octave effect. So if I want some bass sounds, so I'll just press that, and let's blend that with the synth bass here. So if I want to blend the direct guitar sound, and if I want to blend an overdriven bass kind of sound, so a ton of different options for achieving different tones there. The last function that I want to show is the tap tempo here. So there are a few effects in the SY-200 that is controllable using the tempo. So one of which is the sequence effect, which I demonstrated in the intro of this video. And if I tap fast, it will follow, the sequence effect will follow that tempo. If I tap slow, so that's very cool there. And what's even cooler is all of these MIDI pedals are connected in series via MIDI cable running from the MS3 to the Bridge 6 to the IR, RC, SY, and OD200. So all of these pedals are receiving the same MIDI clock from the MS3. So whatever I'm tapping to, all of those pedals will have the same tempo. And that's very useful if you want to do loops using the RC500. So if I tap to this tempo, if I want to record a loop with a drum machine, it's automatically synced to the synth as well as the drum machine. So that's a very cool feature there. So that is basically how I control the SY-200. So there's a lot of features in the pedal, and by using the two MIDI controllers, the Bridge 6 controlling all the features of the SY-200, and the MS3 with its internal effects blending it with the sounds of the synth. And with this setup, I can have easy access to any kind of sound that I want. Obviously, this is not suitable for like live situations. Again, this is more of a recording setup for me. So when I'm recording, and if I want like a synth sound, like a string or an organ, or maybe a synth bass, I can just press any one of these foot switches, and I have easy access to any of those sounds. So that's it. That's how I use the pedal. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.